No, you shouldn't. You should not be asking someone this. You ladies who are well educated and have class, don't commit these mistakes. Let's start with number one. What do you do? What does it matter what I do? I mean, don't we all feel a bit like that when we get that question? The problem is, though, that this is by far the most common question out there. And I do understand why people ask that question. It has a lot to do because we want to kind of gain quickly a general context of a person. We want to perhaps understand their lifestyle, their interest, and so on. So it's not like somebody asks, what do you do? Because, they're there wondering how big of a paycheck you're making or how high status you have in society. Although I do think some ask that question for those reasons too. I mean, let's be honest, right? The point is that this question is actually really intrusive when you don't really know somebody. There are many different ways how I can define myself. Depending on how I define myself to somebody that I don't know, never met before, they can really stereotype you. They can really categorize you in a way where you feel like, I'm not sure that really represents who I truly am. People are going to perceive you differently depending on what associations they have of that profession. And unfortunately, in our society, there are just certain hierarchies of professions. Some are very kind of privileged, high status type of professions versus some, maybe, some low paying jobs don't have the same type of prestige. And let's say you work in one of those jobs with less prestige. Does that really define who you are as a person? Does that really tell who you are in terms of how you live your life, what interests you have, what do you do in your free time, and so and so? When I introduce myself to people, I actually tend to say, I work in marketing, because I tend to want to keep it very broad. I actually don't really like to talk about what I do unless I know somebody. It has nothing to do with, because I'm ashamed or because I think people are going to stereotype me. No, you know what? Sometimes it's just easier. I remember the short career I had as working as a matchmaker. Do you know what a headache and nightmare it was to go out and socialize and tell people what I do? Say like, I'm a matchmaker. I mean, I will get bombarded with hundreds and hundreds of questions because it's a very unusual type of profession. It kind of relates to everyone in one way or another because, people are just very curious. And you know what? I understand. But imagine every time you meet a new person, you have to go through that whole routine every single time with like answering 500 questions. You know, those type of professions that just always get bombarded with very specific questions about people just asking for free advice, right? I always feel so sorry for all like my doctor friends when we go out socializing because by the end of the night, they're just there hopping from person to person giving free medical advice. Then we also have the point that there are so many people who are not working. That can be of choice or not by choice. Some people really struggle to find employment to the point that it's crushing their self-esteem and confidence and they feel terribly about themselves. And then every time they have to meet somebody new, that person have to like dig up the infection, the insecurity in the person by asking, what do you do and how come you're not working? Then we have my dear housewives or homemakers who have chosen to not work either ever or temporarily. And you know that in our current times, it's kind of frowned upon, unfortunately. The point is that a lot of people feel like I'm not defined by my job or profession. So I do know that when people ask this question, they just mean well. The problem is that it's become too much in our culture that we are so defined by our profession. So Teddy is like, okay, so what do we answer then when we get such an annoying question? It depends a little bit like what kind of vibe you want to give them. Because in the end of the day, you can be the type who goes really on the defense. So actually, someone in the community said a really good way of not have to respond the question. Why are you asking? But it depends how you say it. So, okay, let me try my little acting skills. Why are you asking? Like, that is defensive, right? Versus, why are you asking? That is a little bit more, I'm so curious and innocent. That's just to pay attention. So everything that I say, it really does only work if you have the right intonation. And I really do hope I get it myself as I'm gonna reenact these perfect answers for you. Okay, this one is just for fun. You can also say like to just pull their leg, like, oh, are you police? Oh, you work as an investigator? You know, just like kind of joke it away. But again, that can also easily sound very defensive. I personally do love when you keep it vague. Like I say, I work in marketing, or I work with social media. Sometimes I even lie, to be honest, when I really don't want to get any follow-up questions. And I just say, yeah, I work as a social media manager. Because I kind of do. I know we shouldn't lie, but honestly, sometimes the situation requires you to just tweak the truth a little bit to kind of set a boundary, because you don't have to share anything you don't want about yourself. Remember this, ladies, just because somebody asks you a question, you're not obliged to give them the actual answer. They might overstep a boundary without knowing it. And you know what? Not everybody has the manners, the education, the class, the mentality, and it's okay. Like, you know, let's not be hostile towards each other, but always take back your power by understanding that you do not have to disclose any information that you do not feel comfortable with. I personally love the diversion. And the diversion, I mean, just simply divert the attention back to the question asker. It can be by asking them a question back, or it can be by providing some form of answer with a question as well. And I'm going to give you some examples. Oh, you know, I do so many things, but I get so exhausted just thinking about them all. What about you? What do you do? Fairly neutral and fairly vague. And now the person has to start talking about themselves. So that buys you time. Another vague one is, well, I keep myself busy with a variety of things. What about you? Then we have the diversion plus hint, like hint, hint. You just asked me a rude question type of hint. Oh, that's an interesting question. But tell me what you enjoy doing on your free time. So basically you say free time as per definition, because usually people say, what do you do? I mean, some people are a little bit annoying and actually ask, what do you work with? And then maybe this won't work as well. But when you get the broad, what do you do question, then honestly, that can mean anything, because they haven't really defined what the question is actually about. I mean, we know that it's about work, but they didn't really say the word work. So technically we can talk about what we do on our free time, right? Let me see what the community has to say though. Oh, I like this one. I name a hobby. If they insist, I tell them I'm not comfortable discussing finances. I think that's a really good diversion, because it's like, I don't want to talk about that. And you have the right to put your foot down. My line of work is utterly boring, and I would not want to dare to bore you with it, but I do love art. That's a good one, because you're basically throwing something to the fish, telling them, here you go, let's talk about art. Define me by the word art. Since you hear stereotyping, because I get it, like in conversation, we have to be there working with each other, you know, giving a little something, something so that we can start talking about, you know, something, something, because otherwise we're going to be standing there, you know, we are strangers, we don't know what to say to each other. And it's like, oh, we're just trying our best, like finding something to talk about besides the weather. So I get it. All right, next in line. So, when are you having kids? Are you planning on having kids? Why don't you have kids yet? Are you having more kids? Why don't you want kids? Why don't you want more kids? I'm sorry, I feel like a psycho reenacting all of these out. Honestly, I do not understand that people are not aware that this is so intrusive, especially children, family planning. Even if you already have children, that doesn't mean that, you know, the door is wide open to ask for more and more and more. I mean, there are so many fertility issues these days. There are a lot of people who also do not want to have children for various reasons. And we're still in a time in our society where it's a little bit taboo saying, you know, that, no, I don't want kids. Because then people assume like you're some kid hater or something like that. And that's super triggering, although that might not be the case. So I don't know. It's really tricky. I've read your responses, ladies, in the community post. And by the way, in the community tab on my channel, every day I ask you a bunch of fun questions. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to make sure you are part of my Leveling Up community. Now, there are, of course, many ways of how you can answer a question like that. I think to a certain degree, this question is a little bit more straightforward than it can be, a little bit too personal. So I really do think that you can actually give a very straightforward response by saying, you know what, I actually don't feel comfortable talking about this right now, but I will tell you if anything changes, so I'll keep you posted on that one. So you can say something like, I hope you understand that this is not something that I really want to talk about. The only problem with that answer could be that it kind of sounds like you are suffering behind the scenes, and maybe you're not. And so, okay, let me give you another variation. That's a very articulated question, and I do wish to give you an appropriate answer. However, I don't have one right now for you. So sometimes there is no answer to give, so don't ask. Now, this one can be quite spicy. When I'm going to have kids? Well, when I decide to tell you. I think one good general answer that can perhaps work with acquaintances is, family planning is such a personal conversation topic that I just don't feel like it's the right time to talk about it right now. Let's talk about you instead. Yeah, let's talk about you. That is the whole point. You divert. Like, let's talk about you. What about you? What about your kids? What about your life? But as you can see, it's really all about the intonation, which might not be very easy, especially if they hit a nerve with you and just said something that triggered your button. And please do not beat yourself up if let's say you lose it a little bit, like you feel like you're getting worked up, you're losing your cool, and you're actually sounding more aggressive than you intended to. I understand, especially let's say you are really struggling on that chapter and you hate that question, and yet someone has to insist on asking, and you lost your cool. Don't beat yourself up about it, as long as you focus on trying to do the best you can, okay? And then if you don't always get it right, it's okay. The next question goes very much hand in hand with the previous one because it's kind of in the same family, mildly speaking. It's about, when are you getting married? Are you getting married soon? Has he proposed? Are you engaged? Why are you not engaged yet? Are you single? Why are you single? Oh, so you're in a relationship but you don't have a ring on your finger yet. When do you think you'll get married? But you are so beautiful. Why are you not married yet? How come you're not married? Oh boy, I remember when I was single. Again, I understand people just mean well with these kind of questions. The problem is that they are not really thinking outside of their own box. Like, they cannot actually think objectively and put themselves in someone else's shoes, right? And that is why these hiccups happen, because people just lack this objective type of thinking. I also do think sometimes people are just not as educated as others, which is fine. It has nothing to do with their value as people. But we still have to try and find a common language, even if maybe they sometimes can overstep some boundaries. But how do we answer this question elegantly? So why are you not married? When will you get married? Well, when we decide to tell you, you will be the first to know. I actually have one response that I really love using, and that's because I really believe in what I'm about to tell you. Here we go. So when will you get married? I have this thing that I believe in, and it has to do with never sharing your future plans or what you have in motion. And that is because I simply don't want to jinx anything. So for this reason, I keep them private until the time is right to share with you. You see? That's because I really do believe in this sentence. I really do not like to blab to the whole world what I'm up to and what I'm planning and daydreaming about, because I really do believe that can actually sabotage for your plans. So I rather zip my pie hole and just say nothing. And in this case, unfortunately, I cannot disclose this information until the time is ready. There is the one kind of more defensive response you can actually tell them, and that is like, oh, what do you want to know? Oh, what makes you curious about that? Okay, so that was a bit aggressive, but let's say you say like, oh, what makes you curious about that? Okay, next in line, where are you from? No, where are you really from? I think many times people feel like they have the right to know your whole ethnic family tree and your DNA when they don't even know you. And so this question, I saw also you ladies wrote in the comments that it's really annoying when they always have to ask you about your ethnicity, even though you speak the same language, you live in the same language, you have the same nationality. Like, why don't you just understand that I'm Dutch or that I'm American? Or now, all you ladies who want to actually take your level up seriously, then you know that you can level up together with me. Yes. Now, I'm super passionate about this transformation, which is why I have created levelupclass.com, which is an online platform where I help all of you ladies who are really serious about this transformation. I am there to mentor you and provide you in-depth coaching. So if you want to become my student, simply go to levelupclass.com and take some further trainings from me. Whenever somebody asks about how much money you make, if it's a well-paying job, you name it, it's just Do not ask how much money I have or make or saved, or it doesn't matter. This is really private information. Obviously, you do not want to ask what someone's sexual orientation is, political views, religious beliefs even. I mean, depends. Some people are more open with that, of course, but you just have to tread very carefully about all these subjects that are of personal nature. And always respect the boundary. If someone places a boundary, don't be the type who is there gonna start digging and being nosy and asking these follow-up questions. Like, if you hear me say that I work in marketing, like, don't start asking specifics, because if I wanted to give you specifics, I would have probably given you from the beginning. Now, I do have more video on communication etiquette, and actually there's one more video. It's one of my first videos that I ever made, by the way, so a bit embarrassing, but hey, here we go. Hop on over there and get more tips on what you should not be telling people, especially acquaintances, if you want to be perceived as somebody who's well educated. Now, I will see you in that video.